Sophia Bennett wiped down the espresso machine at Harborview Bakery, her apron speckled with cocoa powder from the dawn croissants. The late autumn light slanted through the salt-streaked windows, gilding the weathered wooden floors. Her son, 5-year-old Milo, sat at the window booth with his sketchpad tongue poking out as he drew a pirate ship with improbable wings. It was their rhythm. Sophia opened at 6. Milo came along content with colored pencils and the occasional blueberry scone until kindergarten at 9. The owner, Mr. Delgado, called Milo the bakery's mascot of mischief. Customers lingered longer when they saw the boy's freckled nose pressed to the glass, waving at passing dogs. Sophia had been here 3 years, ever since the ferry accident took her wife, Elena. The settlement barely covered the mortgage on their tiny cottage, and Elena's hospital bills still arrived like clockwork. The bakery paid little, but it let Sophia keep Milo close, and her hands busy kneading grief into dough that rose anyway. Mom Milk, Milo called, not looking up from his flying ship. In a sec, Captain, Sophia answered, steaming oat milk for a regular. The morning surge had ebbed. The bakery drifted into its quiet hour. Sophia was calculating whether she could squeeze in a 10-minute break when the bell chimed and a woman stepped inside. She moved like someone used to boardrooms, not bakeries. Tall, ash-blonde hair twisted into a low-knot camel coat over a silk blouse that probably cost more than Sophia's weekly tips. But her eyes, storm gray and ringed with sleepless violet, betrayed her. Morning, Sophia said, automatic smile in place. What'll it be? The woman glanced at her phone, then at the chalkboard. Large cappuccino extra foam, and surprise me with something sweet. Lemon thyme madeleines just came out, Sophia offered. I bake them myself. The woman's gaze sharpened. You bake every morning, Sophia said, a flicker of pride cutting through fatigue. Then I'll take your word for it. Her smile was small but real, like a match struck in wind. While Sophia pulled the espresso, she felt the woman watching, not impatient, just studying. When the order was ready, the woman took it to the corner table beneath the old ship's wheel and opened a tablet. Sophia busied herself rearranging pastries, trying not to notice how the woman closed her eyes for a full 3 seconds after the first bite of madeleine, as if tasting memory. Mom Milo's voice cracked the hush. He had slid from his booth and was pointing straight at the woman. His round face glowed with certainty. That's her, the lady from my pictures. The bakery stilled. Even the espresso machine seemed to hold its breath. Sophia's cheeks burned. Milo, buddy, we don't point, but Milo marched over sneakers, squeaking. He stopped in front of the woman and tilted his head. You're looking for the lighthouse that isn't there anymore. You keep drawing it wrong. The woman's tablet slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the table. Color drained from her face. How could you possibly? Milo enough, Sophia hissed, scooping him up. I'm so sorry, ma'am. He's been obsessed with lighthouses since, please, the woman interrupted, voice trembling. Let him finish. Milo wriggled free and stood firm. You stand on the cliff at night. You call for Clara. You're crying because the light's gone out. The woman's hand flew to her mouth. A sound escaped, half gasp, half sob. Sophia felt the floor tilt. Ma'am, I swear he's never... Clara was my sister, the woman whispered. She was 6. The lighthouse collapsed the night of the storm. I was supposed to be watching her. She looked at Milo as if he were made of sea glass. Today would have been her 8th birthday. I drove to the cliff at sunrise. I do it every year. I stand there calling her name until my voice gives out. Milo reached out and patted the woman's knuckles with sticky fingers. She says the light's inside you now. You just keep looking in the wrong place. The woman laughed, wet, broken, astonished. I was going to redesign the whole headland, she said almost to herself. A memorial park. I kept scrapping every plan because none of them felt right. I thought I'd failed her again. Your name, Sophia asked softly. Victoria Langford. Sophia's breath caught. Langford and Associates architects behind half the city's skyline. The woman who turned down multi-million-dollar contracts because she only built places that remember. I'm Sophia. This is Milo. Hi, Milo, Victoria, said voice steadier. Anything else in those pictures? Milo scrunched his nose. Clara says you work too much so you don't have to go home to the quiet. She says you need to build the playground with the ship that flies. Victoria's eyes filled. From her coat pocket she drew a worn sketchbook pages soft as cloth. She flipped to a half-finished drawing, a lighthouse playground sails for climbing bars, a lantern slide. Milo nodded solemnly. That's it. But the stars are missing. Victoria's shoulders shook. She closed the book and pressed it to her chest. Sophia found herself sliding into the opposite chair, Milo climbing onto her lap, like a warm anchor. Mr. Delgado appeared, took one look, and flipped the sign to closed without a word. Over the next hour, Victoria spoke of Clara, her fearlessness on monkey bars, her obsession with constellations, how she'd promised to build her little sister a treehouse taller than the moon, how the storm took the lighthouse and Clara in the same heartbeat, how Victoria had poured herself into work ever since designing cold glass towers, because warm memories hurt too much. I have awards commissions, a penthouse with a view. Victoria said cappuccino long forgotten. I'd burn every blueprint for one more bedtime story. Sophia's throat ached. Elena used to sing Milo to sleep with sea shanties. Some nights I still set an extra place at dinner before I remember. Victoria looked at her, really looked. How do you carry it? Sophia glanced at Milo, now tracing constellations on a napkin. He reminds me the world still turns. That salt air still smells like adventure. Victoria turned to Milo. Would you let me build Clara's playground? With the flying ship? Milo's eyes went saucer-wide. With a real lantern that lights up, the brightest Victoria promised. Sophia started to protest charity pride complications, but Victoria raised a hand. Not charity. Partnership. You understand what families need when the ground disappears. I understand structures. Together we could make something that heals. Sophia hesitated, then nodded once. Slow and careful. Slow and careful, Victoria echoed. Months later, Victoria became a fixture at Harborview. She funded a new oven, kept the bakery's soul intact, set up scholarship funds for the staff's kids. She taught Milo about load-bearing beams. He taught her how to make pirate flags from napkins. Sophia's lemon thyme madeleines appeared at every Langford and Associates opening. A year after that first morning, Clara's lighthouse playground opened on the cliff sails for climbing a lantern tower that glowed with solar stars, a plaque that read, "For the light we carry when the beam goes out." Sophia served as community liaison. Victoria handled design. They guided families through grief gardens and memory swings, offering grants, counseling, and the kind of hope forged in shared salt tears. Some nights Milo still drew pictures of a little girl with pigtails waving from the crow's nest of a flying ship. Victoria never decided if it was imagination or something larger. She only knew that walking into a small bakery on the morning she'd planned to be her last had handed her a new blueprint. Some connections arrive wearing cocoa powder and carrying crayon ships. Some lighthouses are built by 5-year-olds who remember what adults forget. And sometimes the universe sends its messages in lemon thyme and extra foam whispering, "Keep going. The light is still there, still."